recording to see how it goes. Welcome back, guys, to Doyennix Talks. This is Doyennix, your host, and today we're going to be talking about Dell Technologies. First off, I want to start by saying thank you to AJM_JPG for making the background today. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Also want to say, if you guys would like me to, say you can find a stock, you want me to review it, just DM me on Instagram at Nix Talks, and I'm like, hey, can you look up this stock, or go inside a go inside the comment section below and be like, hey, this stock or so and so, what can you find, like how you do your research. I'm not here to tell you what stocks to buy. I am not a financial advisor. I just pick these stocks at random and just write about them. And so let's get into it. Fun fact: Dell Technologies got its name from Michael Dell, the founder. So if you look at it, the founder's Michael Dell. He just took his last name and used that as a company name. And that's how you got Dell Technologies. Well, that's how you got Dell, the computer company. For those of you who do not know what Dell is a company that sells and repairs computer products that also support computer-related products and services. So, you have a computer, it needs to be fixed, or you need to get one. They sell those and also repair it. Any services you need or any products you might need for the computer, that's what they do. Okay. Dell is one of the world's largest multinational computer technology corporations. Dell was founded by Michael Dell on February 1st, 1984. The current headquarters is in Round Rock, Texas. Michael Dell started the company from his dorm room that sold IBM PC compatible computers that were built from stock components. If you was like me and you did not understand that, basically what they were basically computer hardware or software that are capable with working with the PCs from IBM in the past. So he used stock components that could work with those computers, and then he basically built a clone computer in a way, so computers that was similar to those, and then sold it at a cheaper price. Excuse me. In 1985, Michael received $1,000 for a expansion to expand his company from his family, and then after he got that, he shortly after getting that expansion to help build up his company, he dropped out of college. He met a guy named Lee Walker. Lee Walker is a venture capitalist who became the president and the COO of Dell. If you guys don't know what a COO is, the chief operating officer or office, right? Chief operating officer. Lee Walker was Lee Walker was Michael Dell mentor, and also helped him to grow. He helped Michael, Michael Dell to grow his ideas that he had for the company, so they used those ideas, to expand and everything. He just basically a mentor and helped him out in a lot of ways. Once the company had IPO'd, Lee was a major role into getting the people who they had on the board at the time. Fun fact, the first computer that Dell made was called the Turbo PC. Also, if you guys didn't know what a venture capitalist was, it's basically someone who is a private equity investor, and they give up capital in exchange for a stake in the company. And that stake in the company could be like ownership, or maybe have shares inside of the company or something like that. And by, you guys didn't know what capital is, just money. So basically, it's like someone who gives you money because they want to invest in you, and then you give them a piece of your company or a certain title in your company or something like that. Once Lee Walker retired, Michael Dell, he went out and got the former CEO and president of Electronic Data System to help transform his company, and that person was Morton Mayerson. I'm sorry, I hope I didn't mess up his name, but I believe it's Mayerson. And so basically, Morton Mason was the CEO and president of Electronic Data System, and Michael Dell wanted him to help build up his own company. Now, I want to get into talking about the stock. And so, at the time of me doing this, which was March, which was like last week, well, this week, I'm doing this on a Sunday. And so I think it was Friday, and the last price I saw Dell at was $88.11. If you're looking for the ticker symbol to type in to find Dell, is Dell, DELL. The market cap for Dell is $66 billion, which makes it a large cap company. There are no dividends that you receive for having the stock. The earnings per share for quarter one of 2021, they estimated that they would make $2.14, and they actually made $2.40, which they beat. They beat their estimates by 56 cents, which is really good. That's the things you guys want to see. Quarter four of 2020, they estimated that their earnings per share would be $1.40, and they actually made $2.03. Next one, and so they beat that one by 63 cents. In quarter three of 2020, they estimated that they would make $1.39, and they actually did $1.92. Right there, they beat their earnings by 53 cents. And then in quarter two of 2020, they estimated that they would make 92 cents. And then they actually made $1.34, which they beat their earnings by 42 cents. And this is some stuff you want to see, that's good. Like, you really want to see that they're beating their earnings and they're not missing their targets, every single time. Like, this one's good. Like, for the past four, they knocked it out of the park. The current COO of Dell Technologies is Jeff Clark. The CFO is Tom Sweet, and then the CEO is Michael Dell. Dell Technology has over 165,000 employees around the world. Fun fact: Dell is ranked fifth, and Dell is ranked the 51 in the Fortune 500. Basically, the Fortune 500 is like the 500, I think, best stock companies, and Dell is ranked 51 out of the 500. That's good. Oh, this is something new I wanted to tell you guys about. When you're going to buy stock, you want to look at the volume. I can't believe I forgot to put it in before, but the volume is basically letting you know how much people is currently trading the stock on this day. or on the day you're looking at, between Monday to Friday. And basically it means, when I say trade, either they're buying or they're selling, or whatever they're doing with the stock. Buying or selling. So yeah, but basically, yeah. So the Dell, I messed myself up. So the volumes basically is just telling you guys about how much people are currently either buying or selling the stock. And for me, the volume, I said to me, I'm sorry because I'm tired. The last time I looked at the stock, the volume was around 2 million. And that's where I like to look at stocks, when the volume's at 2 million. I feel like that's a good average for me. And another thing I like to do, I'm gonna say in every video, is that I like to look at the 3 prices. So I pick like a couple months out of the last year, or whichever previous year, like the latest year. Like we're in 2021, so I'll look at 2022. Or maybe if we're in 2022, I will look at 2019, or I might look at a couple spots in 2020, or I'll go through the 5 years. But normally I just go back a year. I just pick three months that I think are a good amount of time away from each other, where I could look at and see, did the stock move, did it drop, how did it recover, when it dropped, did it go back up, did it rise slowly, like, trying to see how was it moving. And so these are the dates. My first date I picked was March 30th, 2020. At that time, the stock was $36.44. The next date I picked was July 13th, 2020, and at that day, the stock was $60.37. And then the last day I picked was November 30th, 2020, and the stock cost $72.10 at that time. Shareholders. This is not something you really have to do when you look up a stock, but I just do it because I like to see like how much people are, not how much people I should say, but who is invested into this company, and how much does the inside people own, and who owns the most. So for me, the shareholders that I found these on Yahoo Finance. The shareholder is 2% of all the shares are held by the insiders, which are like the CEO, CFO, like the workers who work inside, who run the company. 86% of the shares are held by institutions. And again, when I say institutions, I mean like banks or other LLCs or any type of corporation like that. And out of that 86%, how should I say this? Well, 813 institutions make up that 86% that own the shares. So when I say the 86% of shares are held by institutions, that's like between 813 different institutions. The top three institutions holders, basically the people who own most share in a company out of all the institutions, I found out was Dodge and Cox Incorporation, Elliott Investment Management LP, and then BlackRock Incorporation. Another part that I think is really good to look at when you do stocks, I'm gonna say this in every video also, is to look at the finance, because that's the main part that lets you know if the company is actually making money. You want to invest in something that's making money back. You don't want to like put your money into a stock and then it's it's a failing company. You're not making anything. So the finance for 2018, this is January 31st, 2018. The total revenue was $78,660,000,000. The cost of revenue was $58,606,000,000. million. The gross profit was 20 billion and 54 million. And then the operating expense was 23,387,000,000. Well, that's a lot of numbers. Excuse me, guys. Sorry for that. For 2019, the total revenue was 90,621,000,000. The cost of revenue, 65,568,000,000. The gross profit was 25,053,000,000. And then the operating expense was 25,284,000,000. No, sorry. 244 million. So as you can see, the total revenue went up dramatically, about 12 billion. So from 2018 to 2019, they increased their revenue by 12 billion. They increased their revenue by 12 billion. That's a lot. That's stuff you want to see. You don't want to see a company like make, say, 2020, like, let's just say 2018 they made 78 billion, and then 2019 they just made like 5 billion. Like that's not what you want to see. You want to see them increasing. So that's good on the total revenue side. For the cost of revenue, that actually went up. Because in 2018, the cost of revenue was 58 billion, and right now it's at, 2019, it's at 65 billion. So that's something you're like, you want to look out for. Like, hey, like, how come? Not like how come, but you want to look into, like, oh, it's costing them more to, what would you say? To run a company. You want to make sure that they're not always, well, if they're increasing, you also want to see the revenues increasing and the gross profits increasing. You don't want to see that what they're using to run the company is growing more and more and more, and everything else is just going less and less and less. So you want to look at just to keep track. The gross profit increase from 2018 to 2019, because in 2018 it was 20 billion, in 2019 it was 25. So that's good to see. Although the cost of revenue increased a lot, the gross profit increased by 50 billion. Not just 50, by 5 billion. So that's something good to also see, that the gross profit increase. Let you know the company is actually keeping more money. And the operating expense also grew. In 2018 it was 23 billion, and in 2019 it is 25 billion. So those also increase. Excuse me. In 2020, the total revenue was 92,154,000,000. The cost of revenue was 63,222,000,000. Gross profit 28 billion, and then 28,933,000,000, and then the operating expense was 26,311,000,000. So here again, you can see that some things increased and other things had decreased. So the total revenue increased by 2 billion, which is good. You want to see that it's like increasing. The cost of revenue had decreased from 65 billion to 63 billion. That's another thing you want to see too. Like, it's really good, like, when the revenue goes up and they also using less money to maintain the company, for operating, because then it shows the company is more profitable. Also, the gross profit also increased from 25 billion to 28 billion, which is really good also. And then, excuse me, guys, the operating expense also increased from 25 billion to 26 billion. So, they're also using more money to run the company at that time. Excuse me, sorry. And then 2021, the total revenue was 94,222,000,000. The cost of revenue is 64,807,000,000. The gross profit was 29,417,000,000. And then the operating expense was 24,273,000,000. So over here, basically, you can see again the total revenue increased again by 2 billion, which is good. The cost of revenue also increased by 1 billion. So that basically from 63 billion to 64 billion. Stuff to look out for. Gross profit increased from 28 billion to 29 billion. And then the operating expense decreased from 26 billion to 24 billion. Just that's some things you guys really want to look at, and just like, oh wow, this company's doing this company's doing that. Stuff to keep your eye on. Fun fact: Michael Dell was only 19 when he started Dell in 1984, and he made 60. I'm so sorry, guys. He made $6 million in sales in his first year as a freshman in college. To me, that's crazy. You start up a computer company, and in your first year of sales, you made $6 million. Man, shout out to Michael Dell for that one. That's incredible right there. Okay. Right here, I'm gonna talk about the ownership, like what the company owns. Because like sometimes you look at a company and you're like, hey, look, AT&T does like phones and stuff, and then you don't even realize. Let me just find it for you guys. You don't realize that they own so much stuff. Let's see. Yeah, like companies like AT&T, like, hey, look, they're like a phone company, right? So they probably just sell you phones and stuff. But then you find out that they own HBO, CNN, and then DC Entertainment, and also Warner Bros. So then you start realizing, wait a minute, they own HBO and Warner Brothers, and DC Entertainment, and many more. Or like Pepsi, where you look at just gonna take the water from Pepsi. Where you look at Pepsi and you find out that they own so many different brands, like Frito-Lay and Pepsi Cola and Gatorade and Quaker and Tropicana, plus 90 other brands. So, you want to see what the company owns, because it's probably just what you see is probably just one thing, and then they probably have a couple other things that they own. And you're like, oh snap, I didn't know that. So, most companies have some other subsidiaries that they own. So, it's a good thing to know that too. Because maybe, like for me, I love Skyrim. That's my favorite game. And that's made by Bethesda Studios. And that was just recently bought by Microsoft. So now I'm thinking, I really like my game. So maybe I buy a Microsoft stock because I love my game and I want to invest in my game. So, it's different ways to think about it. If that's how you think about, I'm not saying I'm buying it because whatever, but I'm just saying, if that's how you think about stuff. Or maybe you like DC Comics, so you want to buy AT&T. Or maybe you love Marvel and you want to buy, I believe, Disney. So, that's how you should think. Like, if you use certain things, maybe that's how you should start investing or something like that. Ownership. Dell Technologies owns over a dozen other companies, including Dell and many service-based companies, like another companies like QuestCase, RSA, VMware, Dell EMC, VirtuStream, Alienware, and SecureWorks. Dell EMC is a cloud-based storage center. and they own many more companies too. But this some of the stuff you see, like I had no idea Alienware was owned by Dell. I thought that was its own thing too. So that's why I like to look up these things, because you find new things that you probably would have never thought. Like, who would have thought Pepsi has over 90 brands, or AT&T owns DC Entertainment, or Dell owns Alienware? I would have never seen that coming. I mean, Dell Technologies owns Alienware and Dell. Fun fact. Dell merged with the EMC Corporation to become Dell Technologies. So later on in the video, I'm gonna get into how all that came about. But for right now, during a certain period, Dell merged with EMC, and they bought them out, and that's how Dell Technologies came to be. At first, it was Dell. Something happened, and then it became Dell Technologies. So I want to get into how money is made. This is a big thing I think everyone should do when they're buying a stock. Because for me, I don't buy stocks to buy them and then resell it for profit, stuff like that. When I buy stock, I more like buy it for, in terms of having it for 10 years. I don't buy stocks in terms of just having it for a couple months, a couple days, or a year or so. I buy them more for having them for a long time. And so I think this is one of the things that you should look up if you're gonna invest that way, to know how your company makes money and understand it. Like back then I probably would have thought Dell made money from computer sales, but then I find out they own other companies, so they probably make money from the services that they get from the other companies. So the revenue, so they get 4.4 billion in revenue from their storage system. They get another 4.4 from networking, then a 3.8 from operating, and then identifying the amount for the infrastructure solution group, but that's another revenue stream for them too. Now I want to get into the assets, and I put debt, but I should have wrote liabilities. So again, assets. You want always to have more assets than liabilities. And there's two types of assets that I write down. I write down the total, and then I write down the current. The total is, the total of all assets combined. And then current is basically the amount of assets they have access to within a year. So for total assets, they have 123 billion, I believe. I believe all the numbers on Yahoo Finance are in the thousands. So I believe this is, if I'm wrong, I'll just correct myself when I re-upload the video, or write it down in the comment section. But for assets, I think all of the numbers are in the thousands. So I think the other assets combined is 123 billion. Their total liabilities is 115 billion. So they do have more assets than that. Liabilities, I'm sorry. That have more assets than liabilities in the total. Now in the current, Dell has 43 billion assets that they are able, to take out within the year, and then they have about 54 billion liabilities that is due within the year. So this is another part you want to keep. I think this is also really, really important when you're looking up a stock. For the way I do it, like for keeping it for 10 years, I think that way because, say your company goes through bad times, or it's in need of money for something. I feel like this is a good way to have, for them to have more assets than liabilities. Because in case anything happens, as long as your assets outweigh, your company can stay afloat. If you have less liabilities, you have less assets and more liabilities, then you're not really making a real profit there. Now I want to talk about a little bit about the bad times that Dell had. In 2006, Dell had to recall 4.1 million notebook batteries because reports came out that it would erupt into flames. Also at the time, Dell was getting a lot of criticism and a lot of reviews for them having really poor customer service. And before I go on, I want to say, fun fact: Michael Dell and Silver Lake Partners, which is a private equity firm, came together and bought back Dell off of the stock market. This made Dell a private company for 5 years before coming back to the stock market as Dell Technology. The deal was worth $24.4 billion. So basically, Dell and Silver Lake partners, they came together. Well, Michael Dell and Silver Lake partners came together, and they purchased Dell, the company, which is on the stock market. Because when a stock is on the stock market, that means it's publicly traded. So that means whoever has a share in it owns it. And so what they did was they just bought back every single share and took the company for themselves again, in a way. And so they did that in 2013, and that deal was worth $24.4 billion. And so during that time when they brought it back, they took it off the stock market for about 5 years. So the stock came back onto the stock market in 2018. And during that time, that's when they bought the EMC. And then when they bought the EMC, that's when Dell and EMC merged. When they bought out EMC during that 5-year period. And when they did that, that's when they merged and came back to the stock market as Dell Technologies. And now they have bought a lot of other service-based companies. Fun fact: Michael Dell, and Fun fact: Dell, the company, in the early 2000s, was making $40 million a day from online sales. Now, that's amazing right there. $40 million a day from online sales. That was one amazing company. Well, cool company, I should say. Remember, that's like what you call it? That's the $3 million a day would be like the revenue, not the profit. You have to minus, the 40 million minus how much it costs to get the things that they sold, and then you get the profit. So remember, that's not the profit. That's just how much they made. Doesn't mean that's how much they was keeping every day. Now I want to talk a little about the recovery. So during that time, when Dell was receiving the bad reviews and notebooks catching on fire, notebooks catching on fire. The electronic notebooks. I was talking about regular notebooks. During that time, the CEO was Kevin Rowlands. He was the CEO during that time. After this news came out, Michael Dell came back as CEO in 2007. While other companies came out with new technologies like the tablets and smartphones, like how Apple did, Dell instead went to the service went into like selling services over time. So slowly they started buying and getting service-based companies. They started to mainly help people with services instead of trying to focus mainly on selling computers or tablets. Dell made acquisitions on companies like R&A Networks, Force 10, Period Systems, Boomi, and many more. The goals and values of Dell: sustainability, integrity, innovation, results, a customer, and winning together. I think all these are important when looking up a stock. Yes, it's a lot of work, but when you look it up, you get a understanding of the company a little bit, and it will help you make your own decision on should I buy or should I not buy, and what's like what kind of investor you want to be. Like, are you trying to live off stocks? Are you just trying to get your stocks to be good by the time you're older? Why you invest? So once you figure out why you invest, I think you should, figure out a way for learning a company, understanding it, research. Because it helps out a lot in many ways. Dell also write down the future plans of the company, because you want to make sure your company has like future goals. And these are just the goals of how to make the company a healthier company in terms of their like with greenhouse gases and emissions. They want to cut back on it. So these are some of their plans to reduce it. And these plans are they want to do all these stuff by 2030. They want to reduce the energy intensity by 80% in the entire portfolio. So out of everything they have, they want to reduce everything, like all the energy intensity, by 80%. They want to reduce the greenhouse gases by 60% by working with they're working directly with their material suppliers. And then they want to source 75% of their electricity from renewable energy across all Dell facilities. And these are some of the ways. There's many more that they have. I just wrote down like 3. And these are some of their plans. I want to say thank you to AJM_JPG. Follow him on Instagram. I'll write his name down inside the description below. Follow him. He takes really good photos. If you like cars, there's a lot of that on it. He takes really, really, really good photos. And I want you guys to have a great day, and I hope you learned something new.